Hello everyone, I'm Angela-Lagunzad Castro and we are joined today by a very special guest, Jessica Cox, a film, a pilot, a martial artist, and so much more. Hi Jessica, thanks for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure our viewers would really like to get to know you more, your journey, so let's get right to it. First, if you don't mind, can you tell us more about your condition? Did it start since birth? Go ahead.
Sure. People always wonder because my mom is from Bobon Mercedes, Eastern Samar, and none of her family have disabilities.
Right.
So she was one of 13 children, the youngest. And when she immigrated...
Big family.
Yes, that's a wonderful family. I have so many cousins everywhere. But she immigrated to the United States, and she met my father, who's an American. And he and her, they met, they got married, they had my brother, no birth defects or anything, and then all of a sudden I was born, and to the shock of my mother and the entire hospital staff, even the doctor was stunned because none of the sonograms showed any indication of a birth defect.
Right.
But out I came and no arms, and my mom says, what
happened?
What happened? She was so careful. She didn't take any aspirin. She was just a very conscientious mother during her pregnancy. And then all of a sudden, this unbelievable thing happens, and it stuns them completely. They don't know what kind of future is in store for me because everyone uses their hands. That's how they live. This world is engineered for arms and hands.
So until now, there's no definite answer to your condition.
There is no definite answer, but I know that God allowed it to happen for a very good reason, and now He uses our adversity, and He uses the things that we cannot always explain to bring glory to Him and to reach others. So I wouldn't even, if I had the choice, I wouldn't want the arms because of the blessings it has given me, this gift of touching others.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was wondering, how was it like growing up? I mean, we all know you now as
Yes.
a strong, independent woman, an achiever, and so much more. But was that the case early on?
It was definitely not the case early on. We all have to go through our journey of self-acceptance, coming to terms with our adversity and our challenges. And for me, I wasn't exempt of that. I was very angry. As a child, I was angry. I was frustrated. I threw tantrums. Sometimes my mom didn't know what to do. And no one could really understand me because I'm the only one without arms. And I felt so alone.
And different.
The different part was the hardest thing because my family treated me just like, a family member. Right. But the moment I stepped outside of my home, I was subjected to the title different, which means staring, it means being made fun of, it means people who are afraid of you.
Were you bullied?
Bullied? Absolutely, yeah.
So how did you react to that? How did you,
Well, it wasn't easy. I would go home to Mom. I'd say, Mom, Mom, they're making fun of me. And she would say things to me like, don't listen to them. Ignore them. That was her way of helping me get through it. She, with God, all things are possible and He has a plan for you. And I really latched onto the faith. And I think the faith is what helped bring me out of that perhaps despair when I was being made fun of. And I had such great friends and family because they were there for me. I remember one particular time being bullied on the playground when a kid put his arms inside his sleeves to mimic me. And he walked around me taunting me saying, look, I look just like you. I am handicapped. I have no arms. And this was the bully, the school bully. And
what did you do?
I didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I going to do? But my friends rallied around me and said, don't listen to him.
Right. So
and it was almost that support is what steps in to help us get out of our dark, places.
Right.
So that's what's so wonderful too about the culture here is that support.
Yeah. But when did you realize that, hey, I gotta stop people, thinking of limit me for all the things that I can do, and start doing things for myself. Like I've seen a lot of your pictures and photos, your videos rather, on social media, putting contact lenses using your toes, and things like that, cooking, etc. So when did you start, telling yourself that I have to be independent, I have to do things on my own, and who trained you for this?
Well, it definitely has to come from within, the drive And I knew early on I didn't like the title helpless. I share the story as a speaker when I learned to tie my shoelaces. Everyone probably expected that I'll have someone tie my shoelaces for me for the rest of my life. But I had a drive to leave that label of helpless behind, to prove that I could do it. And that proving that I could do it comes from within. I think it's constantly being told you can't, that eventually you feel like you want to just tell all the world, and that's, you know, what I did as a pilot, becoming the world's first.
Exactly.
It was like a stunned the world with, wow, well, no one tell anyone what you can and can't do.
Exactly. Right? Nothing is impossible.
Nothing is
as we
impossible
would always
with
say.
God,
But
yes.
at one point in your life, because you know what we're talking about is just the simple things that you can do. But at what point in your life did you realize that, hey, I want to do more. I want to become somebody.
I knew from the very beginning that God was calling me to use my life. And I mean, this was even in college. I graduated college and I was not going to settle down. I was ready. I was like, what is this next thing?
Yes.
And that's when the flight training lined up. And I was like, wow, I never even thought of becoming a pilot.
Right, right. So never in your mind before that you've said to yourself, now, one day I'm going to be a pilot.
No, I knew that one day I was going to prove to the world that disability doesn't mean inability, and I knew that there was that desire in me, but never through aviation becoming a pilot. I don't have any pilots in my family, no friends who are pilots.
And what was the reaction of the people around you when you decided that, hey, I want to be a pilot?
Well, I think they were like, are you really sure about this one? Because they knew I was going to do all these things, like black belt in Taekwondo, swimming.
And during your school days, you participated in different extracurricular activities, right?
And my mother put me in everything.
And how was it like for you? Did you enjoy it?
Well, I mean, a lot of things were kind of like a bucket list. Like, okay, got that done. Next.
Okay. All right. So going back to being a pilot, so what did the people around you, how was the reaction? What was the reaction?
Well, they were, of course, like shocked. Why flying? I think my mom even said, you know, really? You really want to do this? And, you know, mothers are protective. And aviation is not exactly the safest thing in the world. You take a risk. And so she was not so sure, you know, like, are you sure you want to do this? But I think my dad was opposite because he always wanted to do something in aviation. So he was vicariously living through me. But with the balance of both, you know, because I was still a little terrified of the prospect, of the thought.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because I was wondering if, was your mom a protective person? I mean, did she want you to do all of these things in the first place?
Yes, my mother was very protective, but in the same way, she knew that she had to expose me to the world. She brought me to a public school. She put me in dance lessons, taekwondo, swimming, anything, modeling, clothing.
All of the above.
She never hid me away. She knew that I was going to be out there in the world and unknowingly preparing me for this wonderful calling to touch the lives of people around the world as a speaker and encouragement for them.
Right. And what were the challenges? So let's go back to you being a pilot. What were the challenges that you faced while studying it? Were your instructors apprehensive at first? Tell us more about it.
It took all of my physical ability to fly a plane. I mean, it's hard, especially landing an airplane. There were so many challenges. And the fact that I was emotionally terrified of losing contact with the ground. And when you come in for a landing, for example, we're used to being on our feet, right? And being in touch with the ground.
Right.
But when you're coming in for a landing, you're going against what your body tells you to do. You're going into the ground in a way that's like,
against the gravity,
wow, this is there's something wrong about this, and getting over that in itself. But the physical aspect of flying a plane, like how do I control the airspeed, control the radios, all those things were all a very first, because no one had ever done this with their feet before. But it was just about breaking it down and figuring out a way and not giving up until we came up with a solution.
What was it like? Were you nervous?
Just to give you an idea, for those who aren't pilots, there's a phase in flight training where this is basically when you fly the plane by yourself. It's called your solo flight.
Yeah.
And that is the
Well, I
most
can imagine.
terrifying thing because your instructor climbs out of the airplane. You are the pilot in command. You control everything about that. And I mean, if you know what it's like to drive a car for the first time by yourself, but
That's how
imagine
you
that
felt.
10
10
times greater. So that's
Yeah.
where my heart is pounding. I'm sweating. I'm like, there's a little bit of self-doubt that creeps in and says, can I really do this?
Yeah.
And then you don't know what things are going to happen up in the air. There's so many unpredictable things, but as a pilot, you prepare for that.
Yeah.
Good pilots are prepared for any kind of condition that happens. And sure enough, my solo flight, something does happen. My radios fail.
Really? And then what happened?
And
What
all
did
I'm
you
hearing
do?
is static.
Oh my gosh.
And my instructor cannot communicate with me on the ground.
Right.
And his last piece of instruction before I took off was, make sure you stay in communication with me during your flight. Now, I'm not able to communicate with him because my radios are failing. All I'm hearing is static. So that amplifies my fear. I'm there by myself.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm thinking about my instructor. This is my instructor's airplane. This is his license on the line.
Exactly.
And here I am, thousands of feet in the sky.
Am I going to crash?
Am I going to?
I'm going to be able to live? Right?
And
So
now
what did
I'm
you do?
having a failure of my controls, instruments. And so what I did was basically I went through this process of troubleshooting to see, well, maybe there's something I can do. At which that point I realized, calm myself down, collect myself.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, nothing can be done. But then right at that moment, the words that I was taught as a student pilot, fly the airplane first, everything else is second.
And, the
And
rest
somehow
is
that
history.
composed me. And I thought, this is really me alone in this plane.
Exactly.
I can't rely on anyone. And if the radios aren't going to work for me, I don't need to rely on them. So I composed myself and I sat up confidently and took a hold of those controls and landed without any communication.
That's so, nerve-wracking. I mean,
It is. I think I was exhausted for the rest of the day. But I had a smile on my
that's the
face.
good part, when you start something, then when you get the hang of it, right? What else can you tell me? Your first, aside from that, the first place that you went.
Oh, the first place I
Yeah.
flew to?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we remember, like, when people get their driver's license, they remember where they go.
Yeah.
Take your friends on a ride.
Yeah.
My first, it's called the solo cross-country flight. I flew to this little mining town. It's called Globe. And I landed there, and then I took off again. Talk about nerve-wracking. You're leaving the comforts of the airport where you trained. Now you're going to another place.
Right.
But I came in, and then I came back right away. It was just a quick trip, because that's what's required for solo cross-country. And came right back.
Yeah. So we all know that life is not, all sunshines and rainbows. Did you ever think of, giving up?
I think there has been moments, and I think that that's part of the human experience.
Right.
I share the story in my book and my motivational talks about how when I felt like I didn't want my difference anymore. Right. And I was walking through a store one day looking for my nanay, and I remember going up and down the aisles. She didn't have a cell phone, and so I wasn't able to call her. So I was looking through the store, and everyone was there. It was a busy day. Everyone had their shopping carts full, and I was just I did not want to be there. I just wanted to be at home, away from people, because my difference demands attention. And so here I am. It commands this type of attention that I don't always want. And I was having one of those days, and I remember finally looking in the cash register for my nanay. She wasn't there, and so I said, I'm tired. And I went behind a rack of clothing, and I cowered down behind this rack of clothing because I was just tired. I said, God, why can't you just make me normal? And it was that moment of hitting rock bottom. I'm tired. I've had enough. I don't want to deal with the stairs. And a week later, same exact store. I was fueling up my car with gas. I was just gassing up my car by myself. And a man came from behind me, and he said, he had tears in his eyes. He said, do you see my daughter in the car? And I said, yes, I see her. And he said, my daughter just lost a couple fingers, and she has been so down on herself. But when she saw you gassing up your car without arms, it gave her that hope. And I was like, wow, I am part of some great plan. God is working in our lives to reach others, even in our adversities.
And from that moment,
I
no
was
more
like,
turning back.
no more turning back. It's like this is bigger than one person, one disability. This is about really surrendering our challenges
And not
to the Lord and knowing that He's working in our lives to make help. We're all helping each other. This is a cycle.
You made me cry.
Aww.
Because that was truly inspiring. All right. You currently hold the title in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the first armless pilot and the first one to earn a black belt in ATA martial arts. So how did you get these titles? Did Guinness World Book of Records get in touch with you, or it's the other way around?
Well, I didn't do the flying to get a Guinness Book of World Records.
Right,
I was never about the record.
Right.
But it came as just, a perk. They reached out to me. They're from Italy, the official people, and they said, we'd like you to come to Milan, Italy to receive your Guinness World Record medal. And even until I was on the show, I was in disbelief. Yeah. But then the medal was placed around my neck, and I was like, I had to add the official. I said, "Is this really it?" He's like, "Yeah, this is real," and it was it. And then I said, it's a great gift, and one of the perks of doing something to inspire others.
What about martial arts? Is this one of your passions to begin with, or is this something you thought about, a sport that you just want to conquer?
Martial arts is part of my life. My mom put me in Taekwondo at the age of 10. I think she wanted me to defend myself because I looked like an easy target, but she wanted me to defend myself, and it turned into a lifelong. Perhaps, I don't know. She was being protective mother. She, moms want to protect their children, so she enrolled all three of us: my brother, my sister, myself, and then I decided to stick with it, and here I am, 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo. I got a state champion title in the regular division for non-disabled athletes, and that was in 2014. But I love it. It introduced me to my husband, and here we are. It's just continuing to do this work around the world.
You've done so much in your life, more than an able body can do, and here I am thinking, what's my excuse, right, for doing more things down the road. But you were also motivational speaker. So can you tell us more about this? What led you down this road?
Sure. It's actually filled my schedule this past 2 weeks. I've done a marathon of speeches here in Manila, five speeches.
Yeah.
And, from Quezon City to the SMX Aura, to SMX at the Mall of Asia. I've done all these events because it's just, I think, being here in the Philippines, I'm not here, year round, though my family's here. I get to come here maybe once every year. And so every time I'm here, I want to maximize the opportunity to reach people and inspire them. And it's a gift to be on stage and talk. And it's been good.
I imagine. And what was the most memorable encounters with you helping people?
Around the world?
Yeah.
Okay, one day
during your speeches.
Yes, there was a speech earlier on in my career when I was speaking in the capital of Ghana, Africa, in Accra, Ghana, Africa, and there I was speaking on stage in the capital, in the huge auditorium, and a woman comes to my green room. She was also born without arms. She was shorter, and she came to my green room. I don't know how she did it. She got past the security guards. She was definitely driven to see me.
Right.
And she walks in, and she says, "I just want to tell you how much your story means. When I was born," this is her story, "when she was born, her father left her mother, blaming her mother for giving birth to a child without arms.
Wow.
The community she grew up in called her an animal, advised her mother to drop her in the wilderness, let her basically fend for herself as a baby, which wouldn't have been very long. Her mother chose to raise her in hiding and kept her daughter. And then some people coming through the village, they were helping, they taught her and gave her an education. And she's now a 2nd grade teacher."
Wow, can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's a good story.
It
How
is.
does it feel like for you?
It feels good when you have the reminder of what you're doing and seeing thousands of people, but it's all about those individual moments of meeting with this personal stories. It remind us to keep doing what we're doing.
Right. So now, let's talk about what brought you back here in the Philippines. I heard that you are currently have a project called The Impossible Airplane, Project 2025. Can you tell us more about it?
So we are building the first airplane in aviation history that can be flown with feet alone. People have always asked me, why? You already are flying a plane.
Yeah, right.
Well, this plane that I've been flying for over 10 years is meant for hands. I have to put my feet
Right.
in awkward positioning to be able to keep it flying, and therefore I get cramps.
Yeah.
Sometimes my feet
It's
fall
not
asleep.
really comfortable.
Yeah, and the max I could fly is an hour and a half. But now, with a modified plane, everything will be on the floor. This will be the first time in history this plane is modified. It's a 4-seater airplane. And it will allow me to do more of this work to show that disability doesn't mean inability, and fly places, perhaps land right here in Manila one day and have a big sign on that airplane.
What is the design would
The
be
design aspect will be, well, first of all, the final plane, which will be finished in about a year and a half, it's still, I know it's going to have a touch of my roots. It will tell the story of my life being Filipina, because a simulator, which is the replica that we already have made, the simulator essentially is where we're testing out the controls. It has a design.
And
It
what would be?
speaks by, and it's by buy-in,
By buy-in.
design work by some amazing artists locally here in the Philippines. And it conveys
What
the
does it say?
message of kaya, right? It's, and we were talking about this earlier. So what is this, the slang for this saying?
It's called kaya. I can in English.
Kaya.
Kaya. I can.
Yes.
Street slang, it's yakang yaka. Kaya. Right? So it's going to be there on the wings of the airplane, right?
Yes, and if I may, I want to mention the wonderful artists who took the time to do this.
Piece.
Yes, because these designers are right here in the Philippines, and I
Show
want to
it
make
to me.
sure that I say them. They're Ian Lucero
Ian Lucero.
and Venecier Martinez.
Right.
They have designed the simulator so far. It looks beautiful.
And the wings of that plane is going to be manufactured here in the Philippines. Am I
The
correct?
wings
Yeah.
have been already manufactured. They were put on a ship, and they're now in the shop where we're building this. The tail is finished. The wings manufactured, built here, are already finished.
Yeah.
So we just need to finish the
But
fuselage.
where are you now in terms of, making this project?
I would say the plane build is about a year and a half away. Once it's built, we have to experiment, making sure that everything is safe. And then the ultimate goal will be to circumnavigate the globe, fly it around the world, and fly it over the Olympics.
Wow,
and
the
Paralympics
2028.
2028. Now that we've just finished the Summer Olympics.
How much will this cost?
It will cost $200,000. And that's, we were saying, how many million pesos is that? So
Do you know where to get the funding, or how are you going to get the funding?
well, that's the thing. We hope to have supporters from here in the Philippines, because this is representing the Filipino spirit around the world. And we're open to sitting down with people to discuss this possibility.
To get the funding.
Yes,
So
to
that
get the funding, because
you
without
can-
funding, we
you'll be
wouldn't
able
finish it.
to fly it on 2028 Paris, Los Angeles Olympics.
There it is, the
right?
Los Angeles game. Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah, yeah. And have you visited the manufacturing company here in the Philippines?
No, I was trying to locate it, but I have not received word as to where the wings were made. But the moment I find out, I'll be paying a visit to this great place that they built it.
Right. But do you see this project expanding in terms of, making more impossible planes, and, one day we will call it possible planes?
Yes, possible airplane, because impossible, if you break it down, actually is I'm possible. And we hope to make this a bigger, it's part of the big plan that disability doesn't mean inability. It's not just about one pilot, one disability. It's more than that.
Exactly. But how can they get in touch with you if they want to, help you with your funding for this
Please,
project?
yes, there's a website, theimpossibleairplane.com. It's not hard to get a hold of me. People can find me.
Yeah, and all the details will be there. Now, we all know that you are an achiever, a very independent woman, but can you tell us what we don't know about you yet?
Oh, that's a first. Well, I mean, Oof, that's a good one. I love to
Right.
eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gained at least 10 pounds in just a week here because I love the food.
What Filipino food is your
Oh.
favorite?
Wow. I always say pancit, but that's a staple around
Yeah,
here.
pancit and
But
rice. What about sinigang? Have you tasted
yes, I had
sinigang?
it yesterday, and I
Of course.
had the buko drink because
Buko drink.
that's
Oh, I
something
love
I don't
that.
get to
It's
have.
refreshing.
And buko pandan.
Oh, wow.
So sweet and buko. So
Maybe
it's
next time we talk over a plate of pancit and
please
and
tell
a
me
dessert.
where we
Yeah.
should go, which has
Oh.
good food, because
All right.
I'm
Okay,
up for
so
that.
you have traveled around the world and seen many places. Do you think the world as a whole still need to do for the PWD community?
Yes. For one, I like PWD. That's a term here in the Philippines. It's recognizing the person before the disability.
Right.
So I think that's definitely the way we should say it, person with disability. And I think there will always be work in that field. The unfortunate reality is stigmas exist no matter where you go. Some people have unconscious bias
Right.
about disability.
And there's so
Some
much work to
people-
do.
So much work to be done around the world. It's unbelievable how disregarded people with disabilities are
Right.
treated. And, you know, even before I had a lot of fame as a pilot and doing all these great things, I know what it was like because that's how I was treated.
Right.
And I continue to go places around the world where people may not know my story, and I'm still the classified person with a disability and given that disrespect that the unfortunately people have for those with disabilities. And it's very sad. So I know that the work will continue and it still needs to be done.
Exactly.
Not just myself, but even those advocates, those who witnessed that,
Yeah.
to stand up for those with disabilities.
Right.
Like yourself, I know you're an
Yeah,
advocate,
yeah.
so
You're
thank
an
you.
advocate for PWD rights. But of course, you mentioned earlier about the support system that you have that led you to do all these great things in your life. What is your message to parents with children with disabilities?
For the parents, I think I need to really reassure them that the idea here is not to baby your child with a disability. Now, everyone's disability is different, so there's definitely a whole different spectrum of what dependence and independence. But I think that if a parent can really set up a child for success when they have a disability by empowering them and affirming them, but also letting them struggle just a little bit to find their way in the world.
Right.
Because that tough love is what they
Right.
call it, right?
Yeah.
And since you're
Exactly.
a mom, you probably know.
I know that.
Even
of
for a child
course.
without a disability, tough love is important.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. And of course, your message to the whole PWD community.
To the PWD community, I just want to encourage you to keep fighting the good fight.
Right.
I'm here and will continue to be an advocate for my whole life. You know, I'll do this for the rest of my life, and I will hope you can also succeed in your dreams and removing those barriers that still exist and will continue to exist, and we'll hope to keep up that fight, and I'll continue to fight with you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good words. Okay. This I would like to know. If you were to describe yourself in one word, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Because the word resilient comes to mind, but I think it's something different than resilient. So
I think unstoppable, Jessica.
Okay. Thank you.
Right?
You did okay.
Unstoppable, Jessica, is what I would like to describe you with one word. But with that, I wish you good luck, and I hope this is not the last time that we will see each other. But for the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. You truly are legendary, amazing, and you truly embody the phrase, we see the person, not the disability.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat for that.